Welcome to another episode of Wok's Kitchen. On today's episode, I've got a tutorial of vermicelli noodles. So I'm going to go through the ingredients for the marinate first. So in a mixing bowl, I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of white pepper, a teaspoon of garlic powder, 2 tablespoons of soya sauce, 2 teaspoons of sugar, a little bit of fish sauce, and about a tablespoon of sesame oil, a tablespoon of rice wine vinegar. Now I'm going to give that a good mix to make sure everything is nicely mixed. And to this marinade, I'm now going to add 1 kilo or 1.5 kilos I've got at the moment of chicken thighs, which I've cut into strips. So I'm going to marinate that for about an hour. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to prep my vegetables. So I started off with shredded carrots. I'm now going to shred a cabbage. I'm going to shred capsicum. Now with because I'm using noodles and the noodles are long, I like to keep my vegetables the same. So if I'm using short noodles, I'll cut up my vegetables short. But because vermicelli is long noodles, I cut them up all long, apart from the spring onions. Okay, now 2 onions, and I also slice them up as well. Now this dish is very easy. There's just a lot of prep time, but cooking time is actually very, very quick. So that was some garlic and ginger. Now I'm going to do the sauce. So over here I've added 2 tablespoons of oyster sauce, 2 tablespoons of dark soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of Maggie sauce, 1 tablespoon of sweet dark soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 tablespoon of white pepper, 1 tablespoon of garlic powder, and half a teaspoon of of curry powder. Now I'm going to give this a good mix, and you can add water to this. I don't. So this is my vermicelli noodles. I'm using about 500 grams. So what I do here is I add about 1.5 liters of boiling water. And once that's all softened, it takes about 2 or 3 minutes. I give it a bit of a cut. I still keep it long, but obviously a little bit shorter. Now I don't have a wok, so what I do in a big wide pan, I put in a little bit of oil and I add my vegetables into this pan once it's nice and hot. But I only cook my vegetables for exactly 30 seconds. So as you can see, the steam is coming out from the pot. Once I've added each vegetable, I literally toss it around and cook it for 30 seconds, and then I take it back out of the pan and put it on a baking tray. I do it this way to keep my vegetables nice and crisp. So that's just me putting the vegetables back on a baking tray, and I do this individually for each vegetable. Now I only add oil to the first part when I'm adding the vegetables, so I just coat the pot around a bit. You can add oil to every single vegetable. It's totally up to you. There's no right or wrong here. So same scenario, add the vegetable to a hot pan and toss it around for 30 seconds and then remove onto a flat tray. Then I'll use for later. So as you can see, there was the capsicum, the onions, the BokChoy. Now we've moved on to carrots, and now we've got cabbage here. Same scenario, toss around and for 30 seconds. So I've added oil. Now to this oil, I'm now going to add my chicken. Now the chicken I'm going to cook off for about 10 minutes, Once it's cooked, I'm then going to remove it. Now the chicken's also going to release a little bit of juices, which is fine because this is what we want. So I'm not going to remove the juices. I'm just going to remove the chicken and use it for a little bit later on. Now to this, I'm adding some prawns. This is optional. Some people like prawns, some don't. I personally can't get enough of prawns or seafood, that is. Same scenario. I cooked it for about a minute and now I'm going to remove it and start on the next part. So I added a little bit of more oil. Now to the oil, I'm going to add my ginger and garlic. Now I'm going to fry this off till fragrant. And once that's fragrant, this is where I add 1 cup of water and 2 stock cubes. Now this will cook down till it gets a bit thickened, as you can see here. And basically we're ready for assembling. So to this, I'm going to now add my vermicelli cooked noodles, which have been drained. I'm going to add about 3 to 4 tablespoons of the sauce that I made before, and I'm going to give it a mix. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to taste it and I'll assess if I need more sauce or not. Now I'm going to add my chicken and give it another mix. Now, as I said, this dish is very easy, but it's a bit hard, you know. You've got to put a lot of arm work in there. So same thing, I'm going to add a little bit vegetables at a time. My heat at the moment is still on high, so all the vegetables and stuff are still cooking, and I'm just going to mix the noodles and the chicken through with the veggies. Now I've just added some bean shoots and the spring onions for the top and give it one last toss. This will be obviously easier with if you had a wok, but keep in mind this is a very big quantity that I'm making. And that's basically it, guys. I've turned off the heat and I'm going to plate up. And just on top of it, I'm going to add a bit of sesame seeds for garnish. And that's it, guys. That's my take on vermicelli noodles. I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, have a lovely day.